All right. I'm over here now because I was in locals doing a live and locals glitched and froze. Something that happens all the time. Thanks, locals. And so I'm in the middle of a stream and it froze. First of all, I tried to refresh it and it thought I was trying to start a new stream. And so it kicked me out and said, you reached your stream limit for the month. So I'm here starting this completely disjointed stream and people are going to wonder what the heck's going on. I'm trying to get locals people over here. Don't know if they can see me. Anyway, so what was I saying? I was trying to explain why. Are y'all here? Am I all alone? Okay, hello again. All right, so where did I leave off? With my little diagram. So my point is that it's not a step in the right direction because people are going to get stuck. They're going to get stuck. I just explained a couple of scenarios as to how they being the government are going to leverage choice to increase the size and scope and reach of government. And what would be the motivation behind that? Well, it's simple, power. As I said, what happened in Sweden is what is probably going to happen here. It's what UNESCO wants. UNESCO has been explicit about it. And while UNESCO doesn't run America, it absolutely has an enormous amount of influence on education in America because that has an enormous influence on how educators are educated and how the entire system works. Because it just does. Our politicians on both sides are very much in thrall with what they teach at their UNESCO summits about what the economy is going to be and what kind of workers the world's going to need and what kind of technology they need to be up on, what kind of people they need to be successful in this global economy. And that's not a partisan thing. People on all sides of the political aisle will hear language like that and say, true, important. We don't know what the economy is going to look like. We need to prepare our kids for a future we don't know about yet. And as if that was ever not true. And so therefore, we should all be working together globally to understand what the world needs. And then you've got plenty of people on the near right who are, all in on that. They're all in on that globalizing blah, blah, blah thing. They're all in on the Internet of Things. They're all in on ed tech. They're all in on data science. That's not an exclusively Democrat thing. That's an elitist, disconnected from average people and reality thing, which is basically the entire political class of the world. Okay. So it's part of why populists are starting to become popular is that the rest of us slobs are like, you guys don't get us at all, do you? We're going to close down farms because it saves the planet. And then people are like, I need to eat. P.S. This is my livelihood. They're just completely out of touch. But these same out of touch people are using school choice for two reasons, as a little valve, release valve for the pressure and the momentum of sort of anti-government control of my life and my children sentiment that has been building over the last decade or so. And they're using it as okay, let's give them what they want a little bit, because not for nothing, they're having a lot more trouble just handling the sheer volume of people in the buildings. Teacher shortage, anyone? So if we can disperse the people to more buildings and to more places, and maybe we'll get some of these private sector dupes to come in and build schools and use their capital and their money to help us out. And next thing you know, we're going to wake up inside of a decade, I'd say 5 years, we're going to wake up and we're going to find that we are tax subsidizing private entities to run schools that still preach the same garbage the government benefits from, the state benefits from, the powerful benefit from. Because at this point, I'm not really sure there's much distinction between the powerful and the state. It's pretty fascistic already. Who's going to win in a contest of who has more power, the federal government or Mark Zuckerberg? I mean, the federal government, because they have guns. At the end of the day, they could go to Mark Zuckerberg and go, we're going to shut you down if you don't do what we want. But when you keel over so quickly as he does, as his lawyers tell him to do, they don't have to work very hard, do they? So, I'm just saying we're getting to a point where I look around the landscape in education and I don't really see a lot of resistance to that encroachment. And we're going to be creating rational arguments for it. Even from people like me, we're going to be like, no, I don't want woke academy subsidized with my tax dollars. Thank you very much. Totally agree, Marby Dog. You can't push a button and compulsory school. I just disagree. This is where we disagree. School choice is not the first step. School choice is the first step to the end of all choice. I firmly believe that, and it's why I keep saying it. The way you build the momentum against compulsory school and compulsory government school is you fight for education freedom. Now, what does that look like? Well, it looks like you fight for policies that allow a true opt-out, where parents who are currently sending their kids to private school, homeschooling their kids, or would do so if given the option. In other words, they're like, you know what, if I have that $3,000 back from my taxes, I might do it. I might come up with the rest, or I might homeschool, or I might do any number of things that I do differently, but I don't even have it now to have that conversation. So give them that option. Let the dollar stay with the earner. Have a real opt-out so that everybody who truly wants to leave can truly leave. Stop pretending you're giving people choice when you first say, we got to decide who gets the money and how much, okay? Because then the power is always with them. How much it's going to be, where you can go. It's a very short-term choice that is an illusion because, again, the private schools that exist right now are not numerous enough to handle it. So let people do that. Start that conversation, and then let the capital that flows from that start those other alternatives that are truly free from the government regulation. Remove some of the regulations that are currently on private schools and currently on homeschooling. Free that up. Make it desirable for private corporations that already exist without a separate and brand new subsidy coming in with the students to say, you know what, it's in our best interest because kids are coming out of these high schools and they're not prepared to do the jobs that we have. And they're coming out of the colleges not prepared to do the jobs we have. You know, if only we could keep the tax money that we're contributing to the public schools, because guess what? Duke Power is contributing plenty to the Charlotte public school systems. If we could get a discount, if we could take a certain percentage of that and put it into the Duke Academy that is actually free from the government, and we'll go ahead and make it really low cost. We were otherwise just giving the money away. So we'll take 100 students. We'll make it really affordable. We'll make it with exactly what we would want to have as skills to be for our work and the kind of things we know we need in industry and so forth. And kids can have this as an option. And if you created those kinds of incentives, where you're saying, like, right now you pay into the public system. You have a choice. Start a school and you don't pay that. You're still educating people. You're taking some of the burden away from that. If government actually really cares about educating the students like they say they do, isn't that at the end of the day what they would really want? And they're not using government money. It's like your own money. We're just going to take less in taxes from you in the first place. You go do it. That I would support. But that's not what we're doing. We're saying the status quo of you guys run the show is still perfectly appropriate. Just pretty please give us some. And for many, it's ending up being a subsidy, not really a tax rebate, because they're getting back more than they ever put in on an individual basis. And that creates its own moral hazards and its own addictions. You're now a dependent of the government. You're not making anything cheaper. We saw that with the student loans. You're not making it. I don't think Duke cares about the money they're contributing to public schools. It amounts to cheap PR for them. I would disagree. First of all, it's a lot of money. And second of all, they are really suffering as far as labor pool. They don't have an easy way to get H-1B visa people anymore. That costs them a bloody fortune. We don't have the brain power right here that can do some of the jobs. And they're finding they have to spend a fortune re-educating people. There are people coming in. So now one of the steps they're taking is they're actually eliminating one of their long-standing requirements that you have to have a college degree. They're starting to get rid of that because they're realizing that the people coming out of these coding programs that are 6 months long or whatever, that are totally private, they're better equipped to do some of the coding they need them to do. If you're talking about like software engineering and stuff, they're better equipped to do that. They're despairing of finding people who are qualified to do some of the jobs they have to do. So it's costing them money. They're also already spending money they don't have. Like there are loss leaders, things like sustainables. The sustainable energy doesn't make them any money, but they pour a ton of money into it. And it's not just for PR, because believe it or not, I know it's hard for people to believe, but they're doing it because they actually see long term that if they could come up with something, if they can make it better, if they can innovate and they can make these sustainable technologies work and profitable, and they're at the forefront of it, they're going to make bank. I mean, they know that. So they're investing in it long term. They're losing now to invest later. That's not just for PR. People do ESG for PR. This, I don't think so. My husband works for the company, so I guess I'm a little biased, but from what I've seen from the backside of it, they actually, I think, would do it. I think they would do it. It's not just dropping the bucket. It's a lot of money, a lot of money. And there are other businesses here in Charlotte too that pay enormous taxes. Our county taxes are crazy for business. So I think, we test it out. Maybe you're right. I obviously can't prove I'm right. I'm just saying they haven't been given the chance. They don't even have the opportunity. But when you say to businesses, we're going to put the money in the hands of these consumers, we're going to give them taxpayer dollars, the thousands of dollars per kid. And now they're going to be out there going, I got nowhere to spend it. I got nowhere to spend it. I got nowhere to spend it. Now you're still opening the door for people to open up schools, but it's a different kind of incentive. It's like, ooh, money for us to get. And I just think you're going to do better when people have an internal motivation to do it, and tax savings plus we could design the school the way we want, not just we're going to collect on some of this money. Yeah, I mean, John, I don't know. And what I've noticed, you guys, is that a lot of people stumping for school choice, when you point blank them with some of these points I'm making, they'll blank out and they'll be like, I never thought of that. Or you come to find out they actually don't understand how schools are regulated now. They don't understand the structure of schooling. They don't understand how the Department of Education works. They don't understand title funding. They don't understand how they're regulated now without the extra money. They don't understand the level to which the privates have bent over already, just to be in the good graces of government, just to be able to open their doors. There are some states that have pretty onerous regulations just to become a school. So unless you're telling me we're going to remove some of those regulations to become a school in the first place, we're going to not make you hire people with certificates. We're going to not make you, have these kinds of codes and this kind of size and take this many students and blah, 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 blah. Unless you're accompanying it with some deregulation to really open the marketplace, how these people can walk around saying it's a free market solution is like, I'm not that smart a person, you guys. Like, I'm not. I have a degree in American Studies and education for my graduate degree. There are people with economics degrees that are sitting there going, it's a free market. And I'm like, on what planet is it a free market? I can read Thomas Sowell and know this isn't a free market. Anybody can go to the library and read a book and figure out this is not a free market for education. It's a completely controlled market. Even the privates are completely controlled. The only ones that aren't are the ones that have said from the outset, we don't want anything to do with you. We don't want anything to do with your regulations, with your money, with any of it. We are not going to take a single nickel, and we're not going to accept money. We're not going to take student loan dollars. We're not going to take scholarships that are funded by the government. We're not going to take Pell Grant money. We're not going to take any of it. Go away. They're the only ones. And they've figured out how to self-fund and be private, whatever. Go take a page out of their book. Go to Hillsdale and say, how do you do it? Can we replicate this across the whole nation? And there are other people doing it. There is a group that that I was introduced to the other night called Higher Ground Montessori. Look it up. This is a group of people. They're objectivists. They have figured out how to compare investors, real estate, and all the different pieces of the puzzle so people can open Montessori schools and academies around the country and even online. That's without school choice. That's without the government financing it, whatever. They're figuring it out. We can figure it out too. But the second the government comes in and says, we're going to still take the money and we're still going to decide who gets it and where and how much and, start having our fingers in all the pies, I just don't see how that's a step in the right direction. Anybody who accepts the money is accepting what comes with it, whatever strings attached. And there will be state strings and federal strings. Don't kid yourself. And I keep asking people, prove me wrong. Go find me the government program, the program where the government goes, here's some money. whether it's EBT, whether it's S-chip, whether it's, WIC, whatever it is, cash welfare, go find me the government program that doesn't stipulate what you may sell to accept the dollars and what you may buy if you're using the dollars. I'll wait. And I'm not trying to be snarky. I mean it. Go find it and bring it to me. You will make me the happiest girl on planet Earth today if you can find that for me, because I haven't been able to find it. And if it exists, that gives me hope. If that exists, and if I can find a single solitary pro school choice politician who says, oh, I hear you. You are so right. This is a big problem. We have to stay on top of this. And I, as the approval person, as the person putting forth this program, will commit to you this day that I am going to stand, as long as I'm in office, as guardian against government encroachment into this program. It is just money. That's all it is. Just dollars. That's it. No, nothing more, nothing less. That's it. It's out of our hands. Once it leaves our hands, do what you want with it. And we're going to put something in the bill that says this is grandfathered forever, that like it will never be amended. It's going to take, 3/4 of our state legislature to change it. This is how it doesn't have a time limit. This is the bill. The bill is, this is the new law. In fact, we're going to change our state constitution to make it right there. It's enshrined in our state constitution that choice means choice. Bring me that politician and they'll get my support. I have yet to see it. And every person I've asked, how are you going to do it? What are your guardrails? How are you, Mr. Small Government Politician, Ms. Small Government Politician? How are you going to keep it small? You're already expanding it by virtue of the fact that you're letting public dollars go to private entities. So that is just by the facts of the laws of nature, you're expanding the government reach into the private sector. Tell me how it's going to just be the dollars. Who gets to decide how many dollars? Who gets to decide who gets awarded these scholarships, these EBT cards, the ESA cards? Sorry, not EBT cards, but same thing. Who gets the vouchers? Who gets to decide? Who gets to decide what an approved educational expense is? Who gets to decide what a homeschool is? Because in Arizona already, if you sign up for their ESA, you say I'm a homeschooler. No, you're not. You will not file a homeschool affidavit. You are not a homeschooler. You're educating your kids at home or in your own approved, whatever it is, thing with ESA dollars, but you will not be classified as a homeschooler, which means they openly say, that's to protect the homeschoolers who are not taking the money from regulations that might come down for the ESA holders. They admit it. It's right there in the bill. The FAQs. It's right in the FAQs. You can go look it up for yourself. Government doesn't want public ed, in my opinion. They want property tax. Public ed equals property tax. One is a means to the other. They want the money and they want control it. They just use kids as a shield. Yes. So they will be perfectly happy to farm out the job of doing the education, but they want the control over what education is. They just don't want to actually be like running it. But soon enough, those same union members that are most teachers, like I said, you're looking at close to 5 million people that are union member teachers. It's a lot of people. They have tremendous political power. There's no way that down the pike, it's not going to be any school accepting tax dollars has to hire these union teachers. I mean, it's not that far-fetched. Already, if you want to accept government contracts, even if you're a small business and you just want to be their lunch caterer, you accept a government contract to deliver lunch, you need to do certain things. There are certain things you need to do in order to accept that job. And there are contractors, to their credit, to go, well, then I guess I don't take any jobs from the government. But when you live in a place like, for example, Biloxi, Mississippi, as an example, or Gulfport or someplace where the biggest nearby employer industry is the government, the U.S. Navy, you saying I'm not going to do business with them and I'm not going to deliver sandwiches to them is like saying I'm not going to do business. You almost don't have a choice. Saw this in the government shutdown. I was living down there at the time. The government shut down and there were people who went out of business. Government shut down. Like, I literally have no business without the government. Without my government contracts or my government contracts getting paid, my business doesn't exist. There are people who go into business to service the government. They're private entities, but 90% of the business comes from the government, which means tax dollars. Those will be schools too with this program. And we will be Sweden in just a matter of time. And homeschooling will become a thing of the past because the government that doesn't want it. Don't kid yourself. There might be a state here, a state there that fights it and says, no, we're going to keep it legal in our state, like Florida or whatever. But if they can get a federal amendment or whatever, something through that says homeschooling is bad and wrong and not equitable and please tell me you understand that that's the direction that our culture is moving, our political culture, if not our literal culture. I'm not saying anything that's so completely far-fetched and insane. When you've got somebody like Ibram X. Kendi who can seriously say with a straight face, and it gets published in the Washington friggin' Post, that he wants a cabinet level position for diversity officer, like a diversity czar and equity czar, and without anybody saying that's crazy, that literally invalidates the entire Bill of Rights, then you pretty much know we're going in that direction. And then without somebody stepping forward, like a DeSantis or like somebody and saying, no, we're not playing, we're not doing it. And yes, it would mean in the short term that people are kind of locked into the situation they've got with the choices they've got. The choices they've got. We do have choice. They're just hard to access. And you're going to have to make some sacrifices to be free. Freedom is not free. It's not easy. It's challenging. It's difficult. You have to fight for it. But all you're doing is you're giving people, like, you're letting off a little steam. You're releasing some of the pressure off the government. You're not going to increase that momentum towards liberty with this. And that's what I wanted to come here and say. Yes, total control is the objective. So the people, will there be short-term benefit? Of course. The first woman who received Social Security, I'm sure her life was dramatically improved. In fact, I'm sure the people who were in the first 10 years of receiving Social Security had lives that were dramatically improved. They contributed nothing to it. It was like, yay. So if you got a kid who's already halfway through middle school or high school and they go on to a private school because of this and they graduate, it's like, I got to go to fancy schmancy school. Oh yeah, that's great. I got a better college, whatever. Yes, of course. You'll have anecdotes all the time, or you'll have the kid who would have been killed by the bully, but they got into the school. You'll have anecdotes galore. And they will be trotted out at campaign time. And isn't this great? And aren't I a hero? And because of me, this poor family now can I go to private school or whatever it is. Yes, of course. I'm not going to sit here and tell you there'll be no undue benefits at all. Of course there will be. But as a vehicle for improving educational freedom in America, it gets an F from me, an absolute F. And if that makes me a horrible person, that I would rather it not have it, that I actually think it's worse than nothing because I think it opens the door to more tyranny, then I guess so sue me. Unsubscribe, don't follow me, hate me, whatever you want to do. But I want freedom. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that this is a step in the direction of that. I'm not going to lie to you. It'll be the easiest thing in the world to jump on the bandwagon and have everybody go, like I said, John Stossel and all these other people and people who want to have it both ways. They want to tell you, like, government being involved in education is terrible and we shouldn't have it. And it's a bad thing and it's tyrannical and whatever. But this is a step in the right direction. And I think it's really, really important. Okay. How you square that, I don't understand, but knock yourself out. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to try to straddle it. I'm going to be honest. I'm an abolitionist, and that means government out. Choice is government in. More. So that was the continuation of what was going on at locals, which I don't know if it's even viewable because they shut it off. So I don't know if the whole first half got lost. I apologize to my locals members. Those of you who are jumping in on this conversation and were like, I don't know what you're talking about. You can try to go there because I didn't set it on subscribers only. I didn't have time to because they cut me out. But there's about, I don't know, half an hour of content that they just cut me out of. And the system froze. So we'll see what happens. But, yeah, Adrian's like, what's happening? What's going on? Yeah, I picked it up here. I'll go make a thumbnail. I'll put it up so people were like, what's going on? But this was a continuation of a conversation started from my 1:00 live stream on locals I got kicked out of the locals live stream because the system froze. I tried to refresh. And it thought I was starting a new live. It said you've used up your lives for the month, and it was over. That was it. Couldn't join it kept saying join. I'm like, it won't let me in. So it wouldn't let me in. And so I came here to finish because I was literally mid-sentence. So thank you, those of you who showed up and picked up on it. I appreciate it. And I'll leave this out there and who knows what'll happen next. But Thanks a lot. Have a great weekend. For those of you in the path of the storm, please stay safe, please stay dry. If for some reason you found yourself here randomly, check out some of my other content. Please consider liking, sharing, subscribing. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.